And welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft. So it's not Alligator Alcatraz, it's Deportation Depot. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' administration is preparing to open a second immigration detention facility at a state prison as a federal judge decides the fate of the state's holding center for immigrants there at that isolated airstrip now known as Alligator Alcatraz. Well, our colleague, Fox's Stephanie Buffamonte, with more details.
From day one, Governor DeSantis has set a clear message, and that is illegal immigration has no place in the state of Florida. Today, the state of Florida, through the collaboration of state and private partners, many of those behind me today, are proud to announce our second illegal immigration detention facility, also known as the Deportation Depot.
The Baker Correctional Institution in North Florida will soon be home to the new Deportation Depot. The facility will be able to house more than 1,300 detainees while the undocumented immigrants wait to be deported. The governor says the National Guard will staff Deportation Depot. DeSantis said the state needs more capacity to hold undocumented immigrants in addition to Alligator Alcatraz.
This will meet a very critical need to have even more space than what we have at Alligator Alcatraz. And I think that's it just shows our guys are really working hard with DHS, and they're getting the job done and protecting people in their communities.
The Immigration Detention Center will cost about $6 million. The governor claims the cost for the facility will be reimbursed through federal partners. State Representative Anna Escamani weighing in.
This approach is dangerous. This approach hurts our economy, it hurts our communities, and it's a huge cost to the taxpayer. And if we really want to make our communities safer, then a targeted approach that goes after individuals that are dangerous would be a much better investment of our money and of our time.
Escamani has testified in a lawsuit that aims to shut down Alligator Alcatraz and says she wasn't surprised by this announcement.
I'm expecting that this really is also a backup plan because the judge is going to issue a decision soon on the Everglades that really could lead to its complete closure, at least temporarily. And the state needed an option to relocate individuals that are currently being housed there.
Governor DeSantis said the facility would be operational soon, but did not give an exact date. Stephanie Buffamonte, Fox 35 News.
Stephanie, thanks so much. So out live there over Jacksonville, Florida. So this is at the Baker Correctional Institution. It's about 43 miles west of downtown Jacksonville. It's expected to hold 1,300 immigration detention beds, though that capacity could be expanded to 2,000, according to state officials. Florida Governor DeSantis taking questions from reporters after this announcement today. Let's listen.
A lot about Camp Blanding, and I think it was a viable option, but this is just better ready-made. The fact that this part of the facility is not being used right now for the state prisoners, it just gives us an ability to go in, stand it up quickly, stand it up cheaply, and then ultimately have something that could be 1,300. It could be more than that. I mean, as Kevin said, we can build out more from there if need be, and we won't hesitate to do it. The reality is although Blanding does have some air access, we were not going to be able to run the big flights out of that airstrip. We were going to have to go to Cecil Field anyways. And so here you got Lake City Airport, 15 minutes down the road. And I think it's very, very convenient. Not as convenient as Alligator Alcatraz, where it's literally just one big facility, but about as close as we can get. So I think that this is going to be value added. There is a demand for this. As I said, I didn't want to set up something and then have like 30 people here. I want to make sure I'm confident that it will be filled, and I'm confident that DHS is really stepping up to do the removal operations and to get the flights going.
One of the reasons this facility was originally temporarily closed was because of a staffing shortage with DOC. So who's going to staff this facility?
Yeah, so I mean that's part of the reason we have General Haas here. We will have National Guard staffing. We'll have whoever, and contractors as need be. But we are not going to use the folks from, Baker County has a jail that they use. We're not going to use those folks, and we're not going to be using folks on our DOC staff either.
Does this facility have air conditioning currently, or is that part of the $6 million sort of upgrade?
Yeah, so again, that's a great question and a classic example of how we meet or exceed the standard. State standard we do not have to have climate control facilities. Federal standard, we have to maintain a climate. So we will retroactively fit these facilities to meet that federal standard. So we will have external HVAC units piping air into these facilities.
But we are not going to they are not entitled to toasted hoagies. I'm sorry. Like this idiocy that I hear coming out of there with some of these, and then like some of these, liberal representatives that think, oh, are they allowed to go up to the buffet for seconds? I'm like, what? That is what you're complaining about? So yes, all the standards will be met. Some of the stuff that we've seen put out there about, toasted hoagies and this and that, I mean, get real. It's going to be met to standards. And at Alligator Alcatraz, the staff eats the same meals that the detainees do prior to their deportation.
And Governor, you talk about you guys tackling a lot of complex tasks and you guys getting that job done. Do you believe you won't run into any red tape getting this Deportation Depot up and running?
Well, there's always going to be red tape thrown at us. Now, we will cut through any red tape at the state level 100%. But, we've seen, they're suing, people are suing on Alligator Alcatraz. They are going to try to find something to be able to throw sand in the gear. So that's inevitable that happens. That happens every time, we do. I hear some of these politicians are like, well, I don't know if we could do that. We may get sued. Like, I don't want to get, I get sued every time I wake up in the morning. They're suing us for something. And look, sometimes they'll find a liberal judge and then we win on appeal. But I absolutely expect that there's going to be folks who just object to the mission who are going to try to file lawsuits.
Governor, what is the most recent update we have with Alligator Alcatraz and where the capacity stands right now?
So the capacity is, what do we probably have, over 1,000 right now? Or?
Yes, sir. We have a capacity for 2,000 right now. We have right at 1,000 inmates.
And that's because they are removing people out of there. And that's good to see. Like I said, my goal is not like Biden was using FEMA funds to put people up in hotels in Manhattan. And they're basically just sitting there. And then like in Massachusetts, they were doing the same thing. And then when the Army-Navy game was up there a couple years ago, the veterans couldn't get a hotel room because they had illegal aliens in there. That is not, we're not here to just kind of create like room and board. This is a part of intake, processing, and remove. There's a process that goes along with this. There is red tape. There is bureaucracy that the feds have to comply with. And so they need the space to be able to do it. So that's what it is. But I think you've seen it pick up in Alligator Alcatraz. So there'll be people there, and then there's also people moving at the same time. So the total census is a moving target, but that's really to be expected. And then we have enough space. If there's a delay, then obviously that census will rise. And then if they're doing more than one flight in a day, then that census goes down. So there's just a give and take on that. We're working with them to see if there's any way that we can be helpful to expand the removals from Alligator Alcatraz, and we'll do it from here too. We have not done any flights ourselves, right? I mean, it's all the federal government that's doing it. I think we would be able to help them with some of the flights internationally, if that's what they would need to be done. So I know they got an influx of cash. I know they're doing a lot of different stuff. But we have now, with this, we're going to have really strong capacity. And this is not like these two institutions are the only things. I mean, there are people that end up in like a jail, and they're charged with crimes or things like that who may be illegal, and they go through a process accordingly.
Do you know, like, obviously there's the federal court order right now halting new construction at Alligator Alcatraz. I mean, how much did that order factor into the need to stand this one up soon? It did,
because we have what we want at Alligator Alcatraz. We probably could do some more, but we were looking at a demand signal that is strong, and we did need this. And so that we were always planning on doing it. I just wanted to be sure that the demand was there. The demand is there. We've continued to operate Alligator Alcatraz for that. Now, we do know, I mean, it's obvious that this judge is hostile. It's not, this is a political thing. We get that. But we also know that we're right on the law. And if we don't win with the trial judge, we'll ultimately win going forward. I do think we'll get an adverse ruling stayed. I do think operations are going to continue. So I'm not worried about it. It's unfortunate we got to kind of deal with some of this stuff, but it just is what it is. I mean, you're doing you're doing stuff, and this has kind of been a cause celeb for folks who want to protest the Trump administration, and so they want to do this. Although I will tell you, the people protesting Alligator Alcatraz, is kind of as ridiculous as it was, because, I mean, some of the people going there are some really, really problematic people. The most ridiculous was the thing where they hit me on carrying out the executions because some of these serial killers were veterans. And I'm just thinking, you have a lieutenant governor, it's a Green Beret, governor's a veteran, and they're the veteran friendly, and yet the governor is signing death warrants for, yeah, when you rape and murder young children, you're liable for that punishment. And if a jury of your peers, if you're convicted and awarded that punishment by a jury of your peers, it's my solemn responsibility to carry it out. The notion that somehow veterans would not want to see strong justice for serial killers. Some guy, one of the guys murdered his wife and kids in cold blood. Give me a break. Is that the best they can do to talk about this as some type of anti-veteran thing? No. It's anti-serial killer. It's anti-child murderer. It's anti-rape and murder. That's what we're doing, and we're upholding the law when we do it. So I just thought that was almost unbelievable that they would try to do it. Look, anytime you do anything, people take shots, fine, that goes with the territory. But like sometimes it's like you may want to like pause and check that before you press send and embarrass yourself. So if that's what they're trying to do, that being pro-veteran to these people on the left mean running interference for child rapists and serial killers, I can speak for the lieutenant governor. Count him out and count me out. That is not what we signed up for. We signed up to protect the public. We signed up to stand up for victims. We signed up to make sure that our communities are safe. And so this is part of that process, and I just thought it was ridiculous.
A little off topic.
Construction of this? Oh.
Timeline for construction on this, Forrest, I think we're going to be probably around 14, 15, 16 days. But again, as the governor said in his prepared remarks, we want to make sure that we do everything right. You know, a building that's been dormant now for a couple of years is going to have some unforeseen challenges that we did not see at the naked eye. So, you know, our timeline is probably going to be about 2 weeks. But again, we may run into some challenges. But, you know, again, we do this very quickly. So I definitely believe it's going to be 2-3 weeks. We'll have this completely up and running.
Little off-topic question. There was another court ruling in the Middle District of Florida on the book challenges, basically saying districts can't remove books unless they are subject to the Miller test. Do you know, does that apply statewide? What's your guidance to districts? I mean, do they need to start putting books that they've removed back on shelves? What's the scope of that ruling?
I would have them consult with Stasi Kamoutsas, the Commissioner of Education. I don't think that that's the case. First of all, there is no basis to say that the public can enact laws to keep pornographic material out of these schools. I mean, the reality is this is an agenda that they're trying to jam into our schools, and that's something that parents don't want. You know, it used to be this stuff wouldn't be in schools. Now it's like they want to use it as an agenda. So we'll ultimately win those challenges. I think we've won, you know, most of the stuff that they've ruled against us on appeal thus far in this realm. It's not just the books. I mean, the performances where you have sexually explicit performances in these bars with like young kids present. We say no, you know, that's something that's not appropriate. So I think that they should consult with the Commissioner of Education. But our view is, you know, we will vigorously uphold and support the policies of Florida. They have been very friendly to parents. They have invested them with a right to know what's being taught and also the right to object to things that are not appropriate.
And how long was Deportation Depot on you guys' radar? Like, did you guys figure that out? You wanted to do that a couple months ago?
When we had the plan that we submitted DHS a couple months ago, we envisioned more than one facility. When I stood up Alligator Alcatraz, I said, you know, we're probably looking at another. I've been in Northeast Florida saying we were looking at doing a probably at Blanding, just because we have existing infrastructure. This is just a much better a deal, and so I'm glad we're able to do this.
And Governor, if I can add to that, you know, I've been working with Secretary Dixon all along on trying to identify continuity sites. You know, again, if we have to evacuate, because again, we were accused of not being ready for hurricane season, which I know you know is absolute crap. But we have been working with the Department of Corrections to identify facilities that are all over the state of Florida. There's one here, there's one in Mayo, there's one in Chattahoochee, there's one in Arcadia, DeSoto County. So we've already been, we've been to those locations. Me and my staff have been to those locations, already identifying these potential continuity evacuation sites, if you will, that we can get up and running very quickly. So this has always been on the radar. We've been doing this for several months now. So again, this was not an after the fact, oh, that was a good idea, we should have done that all along. That's crap. This has been on our radar for quite some time.
This may be a question for you, Kevin. You mentioned the cost, $6 million to get this up and running. Obviously, Alligator Alcatraz was like 450 million. What would
It's
Camp
not
Landing?
450 million to get it up and running. They're quoting. First of all, it's not going to be. They're quoting for that to be a year of operation. We're just talking about the run up. It'll be about $6 million to get it operational.
What would Camp Landing have been? I'm just out of curiosity.
So again, we had, I had a master plan, if you will, that I talked to the governor about. There is a ongoing capital outlay project going on with the barracks there at Camp Landing. So utopia would have been moving into those barracks that would have been hard-sided structures. That timeline probably would have pushed us into late fall, early winter. But again, the demand signal was there. We were ready for that demand signal either to go to temporary facilities at Camp Landing or to come to another location. That's ultimately what the governor decided to do. Again, as the governor just mentioned, it is not $450 million to do these type of things. The federal government has contracted with us and given us a grant for about $608 million that my chief of staff has been working for probably about the last 3 months now with Department of Homeland Security. So we are guaranteed $608 million in reimbursement that has been assigned to the Florida Division of Emergency Management for the purposes of running up to 5,000 beds. So the cost on what it would have taken to get Blanding up and running was probably going to be somewhere with temporary structures and then moving into the permanent structures, probably $75, $100 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. We're going to be able to come here and get this up and running for 6. So this effectively it's Doge, Florida style, to support government Doge, and that is to come in at the lowest price point, and that's what we've done.
All right, so Florida Governor DeSantis there, alongside Kevin Guthrie, the Director of Emergency Management there in Florida, speaking outside Baker Correctional Institution, which is now going to be retrofitted as yet another immigration detention facility, much like Alligator Alcatraz there.